folks. Paul Gruen here. Have you ever experienced a situation where a number of things magically came together all at once and really got you wondering about the big picture? Essentially something that led you to an epiphany? That recently happened to me. And the final piece fell into place yesterday at Thanksgiving. Here's the first piece. If you follow me online, you know that I post what I hope are meaningful quotes every weekday. A recent one was, share your knowledge. It's a way to achieve immortality. Somebody replied, and they said, more than 10 years ago, I attended one of your conferences in Mexico City. I enjoyed it so much that I ended up doing my bachelor's dissertation in safety instrumented systems, and that's my particular engineering specialty that I've been teaching for 30 years. That helped me at the beginning of my career. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. You never know how much it can help someone. I was touched by that. The second piece was when I was watching a Dennis Prager fireside chat, which I watch those every week. And during a recent one, he was asked what his favorite book was. His first answer was, if you know anything about him, it's natural enough that he said the Bible. I mean, he's written 2 books so far. There will be a total of 5. His books are called The Rational Bible. First one here is Genesis, God, Creation, and Destruction. These are 500-page books. Second one is about Exodus, God, Slavery, and Freedom. I mean, he takes one sentence out of the Bible, each of the 5 original books of the Bible, and he'll have a paragraph or a page or more explaining it. Really, really helps you understand the Bible. And his second favorite book was Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. It's like, oh, what a coincidence. I happen to have had and read that too. And I've often recommended it to people, and one literally just last week. This book has been a top seller for 75 years, and for very good reason. And I just reread it again this last week. So Frankl was a psychiatrist, and he survived 4 concentration camps in World War II, including Auschwitz. He was in those camps for 3 years. It's kind of sad, but his pregnant wife died at a camp, and his parents and brother died at camps. And half the book is about life in those camps and how different people acted and how different people responded to or dealt with that situation. Now, he'd already begun to develop the idea for his book before the war. For example, he wondered, why is it some successful business people, after they retire, lose their zest for life? Work alone clearly isn't enough. And trying to satisfy drives or subjective pleasures alone isn't enough either. We need to reach for higher meaning. For example, imagine someone looking down on you during your difficult times, and that could be a friend, a spouse, a parent, somebody alive or dead, could be God. Do you really want to disappoint them? In essence, you need to do something that's directed to something or someone other than yourself. You need a cause to serve or another person to love. We don't simply exist. We decide what our existence will be, what will become. You have the freedom to change at any moment. And the search for happiness or meaning, in a sense, it's like laughter. If you want someone to laugh, you have to find a reason to make them laugh. You're not pursuing happiness or laughter, but rather the reason to be happy or the reason to laugh, and there's a difference. And he also explains why it's not possible to define the meaning of life in a general way. It's different for each person, and it varies from moment to moment. In a way, it's very similar to the game of chess. There is no best move. It depends on the situation. It depends on the personality of your opponent. And another really good analogy is a movie. Movies consist of hundreds of different scenes, each with a specific meaning or message. But the meaning of the movie as a whole can't be understood until the final scene is shown. But you can't understand the whole film until you understand each of the individual scenes. And life's the same way. So don't look for some abstract, high-level meaning of life. The meaning of life changes. And one final thought on the book. If you think your life and your situation are difficult, remember this. Researchers studied Vietnam War prisoners. As I'm sure you know, they suffered solitary confinement, malnutrition, disease, and torture. Yet many said they benefited from the experience. They saw it as a growth experience. Wow. So the third and final piece of my overall story fell into place yesterday at Thanksgiving at, of all places, my granddaughter's house. Now, it's a tradition on my wife's side of the family to watch holiday movies at Thanksgiving, giving, and Christmas gatherings. When we arrived, they were watching a colorized version of the old movie It's a Wonderful Life with Jimmy Stewart. Now, that's been my favorite movie for a long time. I can't help but wonder if there's anybody who hasn't seen it. So those who have will remember in the last quarter of the movie, Stewart's character wishes that he'd never been born. Have you ever thought that? I'll admit I have. I've suffered from depression in the past. So anyway, his wish is granted. And what he sees and experiences of what the world would have been like without him is worse than what caused him to have that thought in the first place. His entire outlook on the meaning and significance of life had changed. He asks for his life back, and his wish is granted. It takes something like that to realize how wonderful your life really is. And that mirrors the theme of Frankel's book. People were able to survive the horrors of Nazi death camps because they realized the deeper meaning and impact of their lives. And that made me think of the impact I've had on others over my life. Like that former student who wrote back to me. It made me think of the impact of my students and what they've had, the impact they've had on others, both people and their employers that they worked for. It made me think of the impact of volunteer leaders that I've mentored over the decades and the impact they've had on others. It made me think of the impact I've had on my kids, the impact they've had on theirs, and all the others that they deal with on a daily basis. We all touch the lives of so many other people. It's something I'm deeply grateful for. So here's the book again, Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. Perhaps you'd like to read it. So that's all for now. See you next time.